Welcome back to Pop Therapy. I am so excited to be talking with this person today. Jazz, you were one of the highlights for me in the last week at Hayu FanFest, and I'm so thrilled that it's only barely been a couple of days and we're back together again. I'm thrilled.
The universe could not keep us apart. This is
Definitely
the thing.
not.
I feel like once you bond over Hey You, that's the end of it. Like you're stuck together forever then.
That's it, exactly. And, super fans unite. And I think that was like the gorgeous thing about this event. It was a bit like BravoCon. It's like, it just feels like stepping into a big family reunion with like all your favorite cousins and the distant relatives that you kind of recognize from the screen and all those parasocial relationships. But there's nothing like this fandom, I feel like. And I feel like people like you and me who work in the scene here are genuine super fans, and that just brings a completely different energy, don't you think?
I completely agree. And I did hear someone describe FanFest as being like when you're out on a night out and you go into the girls' bathroom and you've got like all the girls are there, all the gays are there, everyone's having a good time and fixing each other's hair and just talking about how beautiful each other is. And there's just like a really nice energy. Maybe everyone's like had a few wines. Like
Yes,
kind of
totally. It's
It's totally
exactly
that
the
energy.
vibe. Totally.
Yeah, and it was just when I heard that I was like, "Oh my God, that is like exactly how I would describe it too." It's
Yes.
just like every single person you saw, you already knew that immediately you had this like equal love of reality TV, of Bravo stars, of the people
Yeah.
that were there. And so like it kind of like immediately broke down those barriers straight away because it was
Yes.
like, well, we all know that we're all loving it and having a great time. So we're
Yeah.
like immediately best friends, I think.
Totally. I completely agree. And it felt like that in the media room as well on the junket day.
Hmm.
Even like
Hmm.
all the girls were saying afterwards, like that, and there were a couple of girls from New Zealand, and they were like,
Yep.
junkets don't normally go like this, where
No.
everybody is just like cheering each other on. And how did you go? What did you ask them? Oh my God, how did
Yeah.
that, and it was just constant love and uplifting. And I just feel like that's carried through for me in the last few days since coming home. Just a
Yeah,
real
the
dream.
way I would describe that interview room, and I actually said this on the day, was the only other time I've really felt that kind of energy because predominantly when you do interviews like that, it's usually a really nervous energy, and a lot
Mm.
of people are very anxious about, about getting the most amount of time that they can and actually getting the interview done and getting their questions out and hopefully they get a good answer. And the only other time that it has felt like that was when I did the Wicked junket with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, and it was the
Really?
same kind, not to name drop, but like it
Not at
was the
all.
same
Pick up
kind
the
of
name.
energy. That's so pretentious. We're like
No,
30
no, I
seconds
love
in and
it.
I'm already name dropping.
No, I'm going to be pulling all those names out of you in a minute. Don't
For
you worry.
sure. But it was so like that on that
Wow.
day and the thing is it's very similar to Hey You and to the junket day with everyone is that everyone's very grateful to be there, and
Mm.
consequently you get a really good group of people who are there to support each other and
Yeah.
like to give each other their flowers and make sure that they go out of the interview room with the best possible energy to get the greatest interview, and then also to giving them a pat on the back when they come back. And that was
Mm.
kind of like the same energy at the Wicked junket. Was like, we were all very grateful to be there and we knew that we were about to talk to the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it was a similar kind of feel to the day.
Wow. And you know what? Probably the fan base is similar in terms of the passion
Mm,
and the love for the people in front of you. The Bravoverse is our unique little bubble of love. And then I
yeah.
think, the Ariana stands and the Wicked stands are in their own little bubble too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I
Amazing.
think it's super similar. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, what was that interview like? Because obviously, I was aware that you had interviewed them and you had a little moment. What was that like actually sitting through in real life?
Well, The thing was, is that the girls were flying to Australia to kick off the press tour. And so when you're doing something like that, you're always looking for a really unique question to ask them that's going to get a good answer. And for me, I was doing a lot of research, but I researched like a fan. Like
Mm,
and we kind of probably have that in similar between us because, we're both fans of Hayu, and that's kind of how we approach how we're talking to the stars. And so when I was doing my research for Wicked, I was looking online and some sneaky little person had been to a screening of the film that hadn't been publicly released yet, because you get to see it early sometimes when you're a journalist. And what they had done is they'd taken a photo of the end credits that showed how Ariana Grande was going to be credited in the film. And that's very important for the fans out there because she was credited as Ariana Grande Butera, which is her
mm,
childhood name, which is her dad's surname. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, like this is
yeah.
huge. Like the fans are going to go wild over this. So when she and Cynthia arrived in Australia, I was like watching all the interviews to see if anyone at the airport had also, like, because reporters go down to the
Mm,
airport and they talk to them. And I was like, had anyone picked up on it? Did anyone ask her? Did a fan ask her in a video? Because we were talking to them, I think it was like the following day. And so I went in, I didn't see anything. And so I went into the interview and everyone was very excited. And I kept thinking to myself, I just really hope that no one else asks her about that. But there's a high chance that they could because everyone's very well researched.
yeah.
And I went into the interview and just my luck, no one had asked her. So I got
Amazing.
this incredible answer out of her about how she talked about how Ariana Grande Butera is the girl that this movie is for. That is the
Mm,
girl that saw Wicked when she was a kid. That is why she wanted to be credited as Butera because it was an ode or a nod to the younger version of herself.
yeah.
And I'm not kidding. My interview spot, I think, was 5 minutes. And
Wow.
that also includes you moving into the room and moving out of the room. So it's very, very quick, especially with two people. And I
Mm,
really wanted to make sure I got a question for both of them. So I started off, I got that one in. It was incredible. We had some great chat about, how they took care of the characters. I'm a fan of the musical, so it was really important to thank them for taking
mm.
care of the characters and doing such a great job. And it was like a dream. Like I honestly, and I thought that was amazing. And then I came out of the interview and it was published and then it just erupted. So John M.
Wow.
Chu, the director, shared the interview, and then I was like thrilled with that. And then all of a sudden, Ariana shared it, and then Cynthia shared it, and then Cynthia put it on her timeline, and then Wicked shared it, and then it was just all over the globe. Like I've never seen anything like that in my entire career. I was on like the New York Post, Good Morning America, Today Show in the USA, like everywhere you can think of was talking about it. But what made me feel really happy about that was seeing that I was right in knowing that that was something that the fans cared about. And so
Yes.
that to me is just like the best part of that day. I walked out on a cloud and then the cloud just kind of like shot off into the atmosphere. It's kind of like out into space somewhere. And it's just, yeah,
Yes.
it was crazy.
Incredible. I mean, that is the moment that, you dream of, right? With every
Hmm.
kind of big important interview like that. But I think exactly what you're saying, if we're approaching everything with curiosity and as a
Mm.
fan, you're only going to get the best out of the people in
Hmm.
front of you. And like what a moment. I actually got chills as you were connecting that to her childhood. Truly. And I think because
Yeah.
she's, having clearly what looks like a very difficult time now
Yeah.
and has said she's going to be stepping away from public life. And we've
Mm.
seen some extremely concerning pictures of her. Just
Mm.
thinking about that little girl is, sadder than ever, honestly.
Do you know what I always say with celebrities is that we can't, no doubt in my mind that she's got some stuff going on, but we can't essentially treat them the way that we treat each other because Ariana did not have the same childhood as the rest of us. Like, you and I get to do this incredible podcast. We get to go and do junkets. We sit in front of cameras, and I've been doing this for 20 years next year, and it is still exciting to me. When I sit
Yeah.
down, when I walk into that junket room and you see everyone there, and it's still really exciting, and as
Yeah.
I'm sure it is for you. But imagine taking that moment and that feeling of what we have as grown adults and applying that to someone who was just a child when they started. I think about what I was doing when Ariana Grande was making a TV show.
Yeah.
And then when she launched her music career, those are very formative years. And those celebrities of that level who have started when they were very young have not had the same upbringing that the rest of us generally have. And so sometimes life can be trickier for them. I know that that's a really silly thing to say sometimes because they have access to endless amounts of money and people and influence. But the thing is it's about the things that they can't buy. It's
Hmm.
about the skills that we learn in those formative years when we are going through bullying in
Hmm.
school, when we are figuring out what our values are and who we are as a person, and are we a good person, are we not, what do we believe in, who do we trust.
Yes.
And imagine being surrounded by TV executives and adults and grown-ups, and you got someone getting food for you at catering and then someone else doing something else. It would, like, that to me now as an adult is such a foreign concept to have
Yeah.
someone doing those things for me. And that is coming as someone who has worked in the industry for a long time. Imagine, like, I just can't
Yeah.
imagine what it would be like as a child. And then to try and handle normal societal challenges, not having that upbringing would be very strange.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole human experience, is to try and fail and try again and
Mm,
learn from your mistakes and learn from your peers and, you know, develop as a human being. But they are expected to be adults from a very young age and potentially
yeah,
around people that don't always have the best intentions. And we look at,
totally.
the tragic news of Hayden Panettiere this week as
Yes, right.
well. Shocking. And she was also a young child star from a very early age and
Yeah.
has spoken out about her experiences and
Mm,
tragically is gone at 36. And
mm.
you're 100% right. It's really easy to go, oh my God, she's so unwell, she needs help, like definitely needs to step away. But you're right, like what tools would she have? She's never lived a
Yeah.
normal life. She's never been
No.
a normal person, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's what coping mechanisms does she have? Probably none, or
Yeah.
probably has always looked to other people for those coping mechanisms. And as someone who gets to sort of like see a lot of celebs backstage,
Mm.
it's the ones that do fail a lot, who get rejection after rejection, and they obviously then have a little bit more of a grounded path, and
Yeah.
then they become successful. And so it's when you see those, and they tend to be the people who have the life experience a little bit more because the way that their career has panned out was meant that they had to get an actual job, and
Yeah.
they had to support themselves and they had to like try and balance. And yes, they might be successful now, and yes, in the last couple of years they've become a household name, but prior to that they had to figure out how to do life. And sometimes it ain't as easy as what people think it is. We do
No.
take for granted the fact that we have it is a weird thing to say. I do feel a bit strange saying it though, because it's silly to align ourselves with a celebrity, but truly, in some instances, the fact that we have been through it all is actually quite a gift to us because it allows us to navigate the trickier times in our lives.
Absolutely. And to learn healthier coping mechanisms and to be able to do
Yeah.
things in private without
Hmm.
any commentary from anyone outside of your experience. I mean,
That's right.
those are the things that make us who we are as adults. So
Mm,
you
mm,
don't sound silly whatsoever. This is completely right what you're saying, and we need to
mm,
have a little bit more grace and understanding for the backstory of these people. And we
mm.
sometimes put these stars on these pedestals, and I'm not saying that that's what's happening here with Ariana, but maybe that's what the big fan base is. I mean, I see some of the comments online, and some of them are desperately pleading with her to get help, and the others are desperately
Mm,
defending her. She's
mm,
fine, she's beautiful, she's perfect. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of that in between or that context that you've just kind of talked about. So I think it is really
Yeah,
important to talk about.
it really is. It really is.
I mean, so many big stories in the world, but circling back, we
Yes.
we did have an incredible week in Sydney. Well, you are always in Sydney, but I was just up there for the week, and we got to rub shoulders with some of our favourite Bravo and Hayu stars.
We
There
did.
were nights out, there were the press day, we had the pink carpet. You, my friend, were moderating panels and interviewing
Hmm.
everybody and hosting. What's your, in fact, I was talking with one of the execs, Ryan, post event when I was on my way home. I said, I feel like I'm leaving summer camp. Like, I feel so sad. Like, I'm saying goodbye to all of
Yeah.
my buddies after like a week away at camp, And
Yeah.
like the feeling for me is still, I'm still kind of on that, in that bubble of love and high. How are you? Because you went straight from that into the Logies the next
I
night.
did.
I mean, and you're continuing this week. I know you've got so many other things on. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I have this mantra that I am living by at the moment, and I really feel like it is probably the most helpful and kind of like useful mantra that I've ever really had in my career, and that is that I am grateful to be tired from doing the things that I love to do. And
Beautiful.
I can't even tell you where I heard it, but I heard it a couple of months back and I've been using it ever since. And I am
Love it.
just like, I can't get enough of that. Like if I'm exhausted because I got to do hang out with the cast of FanFest
Yeah.
during the week, and then you did FanFest with them, and then did the Logies, and also too, a lot of people don't know, like that Friday morning, in between the interviews and Hayu FanFest, I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning doing an interview for the HBO Max series Lanterns, and that's my job though. Like
Yeah.
that's what I do, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because I just love it. And I love
Yeah.
talking to people about this. I mean, it kind of like I say to people, my only purpose in an interview is for me to have a good experience with the person, with the star, and for them to walk away feeling like they had a good experience with me. And I think I come from, and I've been through eras where people did gotcha moments, and they
Mm.
did nasty, horrible things to celebrities to get a headline out of them. And I could not think of anything worse, because not only is that disrespectful to the celebrity themselves, it's disrespectful to every single person that has worked day and night to put that interview schedule together, to put
Mm-hmm.
that event together. Like you are basically undoing all of the great work that some poor person has been working day and night to make sure that this is a positive experience for
Yeah.
the visiting celebrity or for the fans or whoever. So my mind when I'm doing these things goes further than just that moment. That 5 minutes that I have with a celebrity is super exciting, but there's so many pieces of the
Yeah.
puzzle that have come together to get us to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just try and do my bit. I just try and get the right messages across. I try and have a good time. And if I'm tired from that, then that is perfectly okay with me.
I love it. It's a great mantra, and long may you be tired from the things that you love.
But just as long as I don't look it, that's the most
No, we
important thing.
can't have that.
Yeah, no.
So, what would you say was, I mean, this is terrible. There's no answer to this, but what are some of the highlights for you from the whole experience of FanFest?
Oh, well, as a panelist, and as the pink carpet host, hey, you make sure that we have just a wonderful experience. So, there were a lot of opportunities for us to have some one-on-one time with the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So we all went out to dinner together. It was very important that we met, if we hadn't met the reality stars beforehand, that we got to sit with them at dinner and talk to them. Luckily, Alexia and I have met before. I
Nice.
actually went to FanFest in Miami, and as part of that, again, bless you, hey you, they took us to Alexia's salon, and we went and had manicures and
Oh,
pedicures. And little did
amazing.
we know, no, you wait till you hear this. Little did we know, Alexia was there, Frankie was
Oh
there,
my
and
God.
they were shooting the show that day. So
Stop
we
it.
basically were like, yeah, I know.
Oh my
So
God.
we turned up and the whole TV crew was there. It was the most surreal experience. And so
Wow.
Alexia and I knew each other from that. And
Amazing.
so that was just super lovely. But it was just so nice to meet Cynthia, to meet Meredith, to just like, I mean, God, Dorinda was just an absolute
Oh,
hilarious woman. Like, I just
totally.
loved her to bits.
Yes.
And so I think for me, that was the highlight. Like, it's we're all super like, I guess, empowered and trusted by Hayu to be in close proximity to these people. But that's what FanFest is about, even for the fans. So
Yeah.
like, that when you go to something like this, the people are doing meet and greets, they are right there, they are on stage, they are doing DJ sets, so they're
Yeah.
it's about having an intimate experience. And so as an official part of the day, they also made sure that we also got to have some time with them as well. And that was just, it's so special. And I'm very, very grateful to Hayu for making sure that that was an important part of the day.
100%. And I think it always makes for a better interview when you've got that connection, like
Yeah.
I'd met, I think I've told you before, I'd met Craig at BravoCon, and we'd done a little segment for Peacock
Yeah.
together. And so walking into the junket with him, like straight away, it's like, there's my buddy. And we get up, we have oh, hey,
Yeah.
kiss and a hug. And, you're starting already from a place of connection. And then the interview's just warmer and funnier and more like friends catching up, which is probably exactly how you like your interviews too, because it's like you want the people watching and listening to feel like they're in the room with you listening to a private conversation that's
Totally.
yeah, so
I
I
think our interviews are like I like to be a conduit for the fans.
yes.
But I also too, I just want to give you your flowers for a second, because that says a lot about your interview style. That like Craig would have like been interviewed by thousands of people, and the fact that he like remembered you and gives you a kiss and a hug, and you then have a great interview, says a lot about your style and says a lot about how memorable you are. And you are a
Oh,
memorable person, like, and I think too, you are very purposeful in making sure that you have a good connection with people when you meet them. And there was just no way that I was not going to remember you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you were just so lovely,
oh,
and so it stood out in my mind straight away. So I think that that's something that
oh,
comes very naturally to some people. And like, congratulations on doing that, because it's such
oh,
a skill.
thank
And
you.
I mean, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you look at how great your chats were with, someone like Craig and Shep, and it's all there. Like,
Mm.
it's kind of like the perfect recipe that has to go into making sure that those interviews are fun and interesting.
Oh, that is so generous and lovely of you. Thank you. I'm
Oh,
trying
my
to
pleasure.
I'm trying
It's
to just
also the truth as well.
well, I was saying to one of my kids, you have to be able to take a compliment without one of my kids will say, if I'm like, "Oh my God, you were so incredible at soccer. Well
Yeah.
done." And he'll immediately give a compliment to his brother and be like, "Yeah, but he's really good too." Or someone in the team, "Yeah, but
Oh,
he really played so well too." And I'm like, "Do you know what?
yeah.
Just say, "Oh, thank you. That's nice."
Just
So,
take the compliment. Yeah, I think
uh,
we're trained as human beings to like
oh,
not
totally.
accept those. But
Yep.
like, you know what? The way I like to think of it is, and I'm also terrible at that as well, but
Yeah.
I try and think of it as like, try and think of the compliments as like payment for all the hard work.
Oh, I
Like,
love that.
you know what I mean? Like, it,
Yes.
it doesn't have a physical form. It's not an actual form of payment, but like, it's
Yes.
something that is meant to make you feel good. And so I think
Yeah.
you should allow yourself to accept those,
Yeah.
because you have worked really hard to get to where you are. And so, yeah, like,
Yes.
treat it as currency. And when they come through, just take it and enjoy it and treat it as like payment for all of your hard work.
I love that. Like you are coming out with all the words of wisdom today. I am taking note. Thank God this is recorded. I can go back and
Right.
listen.
I might have to watch it myself so that I listen to
That's
my own
right.
advice. I'm not going to lie.
Totally. I know. We're always very good at helping other people and not always so good at
Yeah,
applying it to ourselves. So,
always the way.
note to self as well. Um,
Mm,
but,
hmm.
just circling back, and thank you. That was so, so lovely of you.
A
But,
pleasure.
Dorinda, you're right, I think was a real standout for me as well. She and Cynthia, they were just so supportive. Like, as soon as I
Mm,
posted something from the interview, they both collaborated, put it
yeah,
on their grids. They're sharing
great.
it. Dorinda messaged me. It was like, we had a beautiful exchange. And when I saw her again on the pink carpet, the first thing she said to me was, "Hey, how are your kids?" Like,
Oh, that's so
just like,
nice.
instantly remembered
Yeah,
who I am, what's going on in my life, and checking in. There was no, I am Dorinda, it was
yeah,
completely a personal, like, hey, we're all in this together. And then
totally.
she was doing a live from Perth, I think yesterday, or maybe, I don't know, the days are blurring into one now. And I just wrote in the live chat, I'm like, love you, Dee. I had the best time with you this week. And she shouted me out. She's like, oh, that's my
Ah,
friend.
see.
This is Yana Firestone. This is my best friend in my mind, like just so
But
like,
also too, I like, yeah, that's the thing. I think it's very easy sometimes if you are a reality TV star to get sucked into the vortex of believing
yeah,
that you are holier than thou. And I
totally.
think that like the mix of people that Hayu brought to Australia for this trip were just lovely people.
So
Like not one
lovely.
diva amongst them. I mean,
No.
and I can categorically say that from seeing them backstage, and you gotta remember, like some people flew so far to get to
Yeah.
Australia. And they hit the ground running. Like they were doing press, they were doing photo shoots, they were looking $100, like
Yeah.
and they're not jet lagged. Like they were jet lagged,
Oh,
but they were very good at like making sure that everyone had a really good encounter with them. And I think that says a lot about them
yes.
as stars because they know that this is, yes, it is their job, but like they're also business people and they also want everyone else to have a nice time as well. And
Yeah.
they really were really good at making sure that that was the case.
Yes, completely agree. And we were staying at the
Mm.
same hotel and had a few, chats uh, in the off days. And I
Can
would
I
see
tell
that.
you, I nearly fell down that staircase. You know
Are
that.
you serious?
Oh my God, just to like have a side quest for a minute, like that staircase in the middle of that hotel, I
Yes.
was finishing up our day and I was walking down it and the bottom of my trousers got caught on
Oh,
my the heel of my boot and
oh
I nearly
no.
stacked it. I would have turned up to Hayu FanFest with like a black eye and a broken nose and I'm
Oh
very
my
grateful that I did
God.
it. Like, because I was
Oh,
like carrying stuff and I was like leaving there and like taking all my equipment with me. Couldn't believe it. It
oh
was one of
my
those moments,
God.
when you yeah, when you like
Yes.
slip and you're like, oh my God,
Yes.
I nearly fell then and I saved myself. I was like, thank you, whoever was
Oh,
looking over me.
that's
Like,
hilarious. Although it would have been very chic of you to turn up with one of those classic housewife boots. You know how they
could
all
you
end up with a moon
imagine?
boot at some
Could you
point?
imagine like what stories people would have had? They would have been like,
Seriously.
oh, what happened to you?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
hilarious.
how that would have gone with the designer suit or the custom suit, but
Yeah.
you would have made it work.
I would have bedazzled that thing. Like she would have been right.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm
Yes.
not sure it would have gone with the aesthetic of what I was going for. That's for
Not
sure.
necessarily, especially that sequined number. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Would have needed some bedazzling for sure.
Yeah, would have definitely.
So speaking about, the way that these Bravo Lebs are so incredible with the fans, have there been any interviews? And you might have to think about whether you can legally answer this question. But have there been any interviews with big names over the years where you've just walked away going like, "Oh my God, like what
Oh
a
yeah.
jerk." Yeah?
Do you know what I have? And I have talked about this one before and I don't ever like to name names, but the thing is that like when I've talked about it, I said who it was and like it kind of comes with a caveat because it taught me so much about my style of interviewing. And I remember interviewing Mark Wahlberg once and it was a really, really difficult interview to get something out of him. And I don't like to ask the question like, what was your favorite part of doing this movie? Because I know
Yeah.
that the celebrities don't want to hear that. They want to be asked interesting questions, but so I was asking him some like from some very tailored questions, and I wasn't getting anything out of him. And it wasn't until I did ask him what his favorite thing was about shooting the film that he then gave me an answer. And I kind
Mm.
of left that interview and I was like, oh, like I don't know why I didn't have a good experience with him. It didn't feel like we really connected. But when I really thought about it, I was like, I had to put myself in their shoes. And I thought to myself, this man has like traveled 18 hours to get here. He is jet lagged and he's tired and his brain's not working. And I sort of like tried to think if I was, when I've traveled overseas and I've had to like muster up all my energy to try and like do interviews with people and think about questions when I'm also meant to be asleep. Like,
Yeah.
so I think while that was like not a great interview, what it was a brilliant life lesson for me because it made me really stop and go, well, why didn't we have a good interview then? And the reason is that I needed to cater to him a little bit more and to just I don't know. I needed to, and this is a skill that I've honed over the years, is to read the room quite quickly and
Mm.
understand that, like, all he could really muster because of the quick turnaround in him coming to Australia, doing the red carpet and leaving was just those stock standard answers. And
Mm.
so I think and this was so long ago, this is like over 10 years ago, but I think from that point onwards, I learned the skill of almost being like a dolphin and sending out sonar and like trying to
Yes.
get a read off you try and get a read off someone straight away to see what their vibe is and how they're feeling and if they want to have a bit of fun. And then I always prepare myself to go in one of two directions. You either go, okay, cool, this person is like super tired and I'm not going to get a lot out of them today, and that's okay. And we go in this direction, or they're up for a laugh, they're going to have some fun, they want to be a bit silly, and so we go in this direction. So I think
Perfect.
that there have been challenges over the years, but there's always a reason. Like, there's
Mm.
always so much going on outside of that. Like I said to you before, there's so much
Yeah.
happening outside of that 5 minutes that when you have like optics on that and when you have eyes on that and you understand it, it only helps make you better at your job. And I would say that to anyone in their regular job or whatever it is that they do, in their situation with a friend or a loved one. Once you take your vision out of the specific spot that you're in and try and see what is like contributing to those circumstances, it will help you understand it a lot more and will help you process it like and get through it. And it could be tricky and it could be messy, but like that ability will just help you sort of like step through that a little better. And it goes back to what we were saying at the start. Those are life skills that I've had to learn, and I've had to learn them the hard way by failing.
Mm.
But the important part is that you do learn from it and you
Yeah.
apply those skills later on in your life.
100%. I think, reading the room is not something that comes naturally to everybody. And
Mm,
putting that energy out there of like, what's the vibe here, And I think it is a specific skill to be able to walk in a microsecond know if this person's got their guard up,
mm-hmm.
or if they're relaxed and ready to go, if you can tell you're like the 10th interview for the day and they're like, oh, you
Totally.
know. And sometimes you have to work for it. And typically, as you know, I tend to work in long form with podcasting. So I get the luxury of warming them up. And, I've had
Yeah.
interviews with people where you can just feel, they're like, bodies are tight,
Oh, they're
there's a
closed.
vibe, they're so
Yeah.
closed. And I
Sorry,
just,
I'm doing that right
yeah,
now for anyone
oh
who's
no,
not watching this. I
you're
should.
relaxed. You're relaxed and leaning on the table, and you're sitting at your VIP
I
table.
promise I'm not closed at all.
I am not getting a closed vibe from
I've
you
just got bad
whatsoever.
posture, that's all.
Me too. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah.
But and you really sometimes have to work for it. But like the greatest joy is coming away from those tougher interviews and knowing
Mm,
that you've left with a good connection with someone and they've had a good time.
mm.
And I think it's probably the same anywhere. But like I know people, and maybe it's a little bit of the people pleaser in me. Like I like to ensure that we've had a good time and that you're leaving the interview feeling like that was really fun and this was a good connection, as opposed
Totally.
to, them leaving going, oh, next, and
Yeah, exactly. And it's
yeah,
such a fine line to walk too. It's like, you don't want them to be bored, but you don't want them to be like upset with anything
yeah,
that you're doing.
yeah,
But then also too, you want them to have fun, but you want them to take you seriously. So
yeah.
it definitely is like a weird tightrope at times where you
Mm.
have to figure out like what the line is that you're walking. And it's like you say, it's that ability to read the room and figure out like, is this a really serious chat where I want someone to have a serious moment with me? Or am I all right to just like let my hair down a little bit and just be a
Yeah,
bit silly and just have fun? Like,
yeah,
but either way, I think that general idea of having a positive encounter and a positive interaction is just a really good um, kind of like overall theme to have when you go
yeah.
into a scenario like that.
So true. And look, I had the whole, rainbow of feelings with some of the Hey You guests at the junket. I had Jason, Captain Jason from Below Deck Down Under, for anyone who, I mean, I think everybody knows who he is, but he's actually a friend of mine outside of here through the
Ah,
Bravo world. And, he's been on
yep.
the pod. And so we were, secretly going for drinks and stuff over the week. But, well, not secretly, but, just catching up. And I
Off the clock, so to
off the
speak.
clock. That's right.
Yeah.
And then when it was time to do our interview in at the junket, again, I'm coming in already knowing what's going on in his life, and I asked a question
Mhm.
about, to him and to Juliet Mayhew about how they find the balance between the pressures of family and public life, I suppose. And,
Mhm.
Jason got very emotional talking about his dad and started,
Mhm.
tearing up because
Yeah,
his dad
wow.
has Alzheimer's and he's going through a
Mhm.
lot with that at the moment. And, you know, there's no moment, like you're saying, where I'm like, yes, gotcha. But those are the
Yeah.
moments where I'm like, oh, it's just so beautiful to connect as human beings, because there are so many other people who have aging parents or parents who are unwell, and or people in their lives who are going through
Yep.
things. And, like you were saying, we don't always need the stock standard, tell me about the show, who's your
No,
favorite
that's
person to film
right.
with. It's like, who are you as a human, and what's really
Yeah.
going on in your life? And let's bring the context and the color into the identity that we see in public, you know?
And it's also a real talent too to be able to get your person that you're interviewing to that space.
Mm,
Because I mean, obviously with Jace, he can be like a little quieter,
yeah.
but it's so great that you were able to connect with him on that level because he trusts you to talk about it. And that's a very vulnerable thing to do. And the thing is that like people, I had some hilarious comments on an interview that I did the other day, which I'll get to in a minute. But
Yeah.
like if a celebrity doesn't want to tell you something, they won't. And
Mm,
so if he didn't want to share with you about his dad, then he wouldn't have. He just would have like given you a stock standard answer and you would have
yeah.
moved on.
Yeah.
Um, but like it's so funny sometimes to address like those sorts of things and your relationship with a celebrity because you might have a relationship with them and you might know some stuff and there'll be things that you won't bring up
Yeah.
deliberately. And I'm not saying that that happened on this trip, but like I often get comments from people about being like, why didn't you ask them about this? Or
Yeah.
one the other day, which was so bizarre, and I'm still trying to figure it out, was I interviewed the director for a film called Obsession, which has been like this just global phenomenon of a film.
Hmm.
Um, and there were multiple comments in the comments section asking me why on earth I said to him that we were out of time. And the
Oh,
funny thing was is that I know, right? So you immediately understand that. But
yes.
like I for those people who don't know, we get and we've already talked about it in this chat, but we get given a time limit. And so with Ariana Grande, it was 5 minutes total. With our Hey You chats, we had 10 minutes, which is such a luxury.
Yeah.
You might come on a podcast and talk for 45 minutes, but it's not
Yeah.
our choice. And it
Yeah.
was just, I think it's so hilarious. I really like looked, it was like three different comments that were like, getting angry at me
Really?
for telling him that, yeah, that we were out of time. But what I tried to comment back to people is that the publicist had already said three times in the chat on the Zoom, wrap up, like you need to finish right now. But he was talking about stuff, and I was trying to find a moment to jump in because you don't want to be rude and be like, "That's all we've
Totally.
got time for."
Yes.
But my point is that there are a lot of things going on at the same time, and so
Yes.
it sometimes can take a while for you to get to a point where someone feels vulnerable enough to share something with you, or when you are watching something, if we don't address something, there might be a reason that we haven't,
Yeah.
because we have a relationship with someone and we know that that's just not something that they want to talk about.
Totally.
And that's our job on our side, to be as I said before, the conduit of the fans, but
Yeah.
also to be the buffer for the celebrity, and to make sure that like nothing is getting to them that is a personal thing that they don't want to talk about, or
Yeah.
something that doesn't make them happy.
100%. It's so funny you say that though, because in that moment with Jace, he's sitting there, he's like, oh, I'm getting really emotional now. And he's tearing
Yeah,
up. And the producer's in the background going, wind it up,
wrap it up.
wind it up. And I'm just like looking at her and looking at him, like my friend is
You're like,
crying. I'm like, oh
I
God. And
can't.
I'm like, all right, Jace, thanks very much for your time. And
Yeah, thanks,
off we go.
brother.
Yeah.
It's just,
I
yeah, that's the thing.
know.
You
Yes.
have to still be a human in these interviews,
Yes.
and you still have to like have that sensibility about you, where like if it's not the right moment to rap, like just have some grace and give me 30 seconds and let me like
Exactly.
find a way to like, to wrap this up in a
Yeah.
natural way. It's just like,
That's
because also
right.
also the star doesn't know that the publicist has given us the wrap up. It's only
No.
something that we can see.
Yes.
But yeah,
Exactly.
that's the difference between
Oh,
doing an okay interview and a great interview, is understanding all
yeah.
those intricacies of like everything that's going on.
So true. In fact, I'm now also thinking of my chat with Shep and Craig because I know Craig, like, and also because of the ADHD with both of these, unmedicated
Yeah.
boys in front of me. I literally like came in, hug, kiss, we're chatting. He's rambling on about like he's coming back to Melbourne. He's like, we'll do something in January when I'm back, and he's talking about
Yeah,
this and
yeah.
talking about this and talking about this. I'm like, okay, we're rolling because, sorry guys, I
Yeah,
gotta
you're like,
like,
have we even
yeah, we need,
started?
and they're like, yes, you're rolling. And then at the end, he's like, where he's walking me to the door, Craig, and again telling me all about his book and this and that and going on, and we're
Hmm.
having a lovely chat, and it's going for minutes upon minutes upon minutes upon the Bravo execs really enjoying it, the three of us having a good time, and the producer's like, I really need to move you out of the room
Yeah,
now,
I need
and
you to get out of the room.
look, listen, I can't just go to him like, Craig, I gotta go, like,
Yeah, we're done.
like,
Like it
exactly.
doesn't, yeah, you can't
Yeah.
hang up the call when it's like
No,
that. It's too
exactly.
awkward. Yeah, no.
Exactly, exactly. But so funny. And there is always that context. And you do have to find the moment where it's just like, you've got to almost give the audience as well that moment of, well, thank you so much for that vulnerability. That was really beautiful. And
Totally.
I'm sure a lot of people will connect with that. Okay, I gotta go. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I gotta go. Like
Yeah.
my time is up. I have to leave, but thank you
Yeah.
so much. Like I'm
Yeah.
out.
I
Yeah,
want to be invited back.
totally.
So I gotta go.
Yeah. It's such
So
a skill
true.
actually being able to be able to, when you're getting the wrap up, to be able to, because like for anyone who is watching this, like
Yeah.
literally, like this is what they do. They spin their finger around and they tell you to wrap up.
So
And
true.
so there's such a skill in being able to not rush yourself when you see that,
Yeah.
and to still keep the cadence of what you're saying and wrap up. And then all of a sudden, once you know you're stopped rolling, to be like, okay, cool, thanks a lot, everyone. Okay, bye. And then like run
Yes,
out. Like
totally.
it's quite comical sometimes,
Totally.
actually.
It's such a frantic kind of day, isn't it? And I think,
It's hilarious.
I would hate to be doing that in a situation where it felt competitive and uncomfortable. And I think that was
Mm,
really the thing, that was the key kind of thing about that junket day for Hayu FanFest, because it was,
mm.
as we said before, just so supportive and uplifting, and everyone was just feeding off each other's energy, and we were all going into the space just on a bit of a high and feeling like we're all on the same
Totally.
team. It was really lovely.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. And then leading into actual Fan Fest, it just felt like
Yeah.
it just set a really positive tone for like what we were going into. And then that really was reflected on the day. It was just such a
Yeah.
party atmosphere. It was so good.
Totally. And hats off to the publicity team at Organic, because they worked
Yeah,
around the clock making sure we were looked after, the stars were looked after, the fans were looked after. It was, really no mean feat. It was just a fantastic experience all round. I
There is
think
a
you would agree.
reason that they are the best people in town, and that's because this is what they do best. And yeah,
Yeah.
I completely concur with that. They really looked after us and made sure that we were all taken care of, and that like no one kind of walked away without any unhappy feelings or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yep, totally. Now, moving slightly away from Bravo again for a moment, I know we talked about
Sure.
Ariana and we talked a bit about
Mm.
Marky Mark, but are there any, and again, I know this is a really hard question, but are there any other really standout interviews for you where you have just felt like that was honestly, and we can give ourselves the flowers here if we can try,
Mm.
that was really one of my best interviews, moments. Like, I'm going to be really riding high on this one for a while.
Yes. And the reason that I paused dramatically is because it had nothing to do with the actual interview. And
Oh,
if you have a look at my Instagram page, I actually have this interview pinned at the top of my feed for this reason. And that is because it stands for everything that I love about doing this job. And that is that an incident happened purely at my expense. And I had absolutely no choice but to go with it and to laugh about it. And every time I see the video, it makes me laugh. But I was doing some interviews for a show called Paradise, which from memory is on Disney Plus, and it was with Shailene Woodley and her co-star Thomas Doherty. What happened was is when I do my interviews from home, I have a puppy and she often likes to sit on my lap while I do my interviews, and no one ever really sees that. Occasionally she'll like pop up and say hi, and it's like a fun little thing that we do in some of the interviews, but it never really makes the edit very often.
yeah.
But the celebrities love it because they're like, "Oh my God, that dog was on your lap the whole time." And I'm like, "Yeah, she just wanted to say hello." Anyway, so that had happened, and at the beginning of the interview, she had popped her head up, and it was at the start of the interview, and I was like, "Oh God," like she like wants to get down or whatever. So they saw her and they were like, "Oh my God, a dog!" And I was like, "Yep." I was like, "This is Arlo, my puppy. Let me put her down." And so what happened was is I reached down and put her on the floor out of frame. And where I do my Zoom interviews at home, behind me, I have two pictures. And the pictures are of Marilyn Monroe and Audrey Hepburn.
Mm.
And I hadn't switched off the auto face follow thing, that feature where it
Yes.
I think they call it center stage. It's like when you move and the camera follows you.
Yeah.
So because I had like ducked my head out of like camera to put my puppy on the floor, the camera decided that Marilyn Monroe was the person in the background, or Audrey Hepburn was the person in the background. And so it zoomed in on their faces and on the pictures on the wall. And so I came back up and I was like fully zoomed back in, and I'm like waving my hands, like trying to get this camera to like go back and like zoom in on me and not the pictures on my wall.
Yes.
And Shailene just lost it.
Oh my
It was a,
God.
it was quite a like, it was like a drama series. And so it wasn't like anything funny that we were talking about, but she just could not hold it together. It was
Oh my
so funny.
God.
And I was just like, it is one of my favorite moments because it was such, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh my God, that's the social media video, like nothing.
Totally.
And then from that point onwards, I then had to do like an 8 minute interview about this show that's like about people
Oh
living
my God.
underground and blah, blah, blah. And so it was just so funny to try and keep a straight face. And I made a joke about it at the end and they erupted into laughter again. But I was just like, do you know what? If that's the good moment that we have at my expense and like makes me look a bit silly, then I'm all for that because that's what I would do with my
100%.
mates. If something like that
Yes.
happened with a friend, I would be like, laugh at me, like, let's all have a laugh at it together. And it was one of
Totally.
my absolute favorite moments because you can actually see in the video the minute that they just they get disarmed and they're
Yeah.
just like laughing about it and having a scream and just
Yeah.
like, it was just so entertaining.
Oh my God, it probably made for the best interview because everyone was loosened up. And in what other interview have they been pissing themselves laughing when it's a serious show like that,
Oh, a
you know?
100%. Like, and they would have been doing serious interviews like
Yeah,
all day, and nothing like that would have happened. And so I
yeah.
was like, well, I guess I made their day. Like that's what it
Yes.
was. Like, they had a bit of a laugh about it. So that's what we get.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, it would be remiss of me to finish this interview without asking you all about Robert Irwin, the star of the Logies, host
Yeah.
extraordinaire. This guy is having a career surge like no one in his family before. I think he's like even okay, maybe it's sacrilegious to say that, but he's got a different profile to his dad, but he is internationally loved and well regarded. And
Yeah.
Steve, of course, was the icon that he was, and in his own lane. But Robert has just come flying out of the gates these last few years. What a star! What was he like up close and personal on the carpet?
It's really funny because Robert comes from such a showbiz family, and I know that a lot of people had like negative things to say about him hosting the Logies, but I could not speak highly enough of him.
Mm.
He did such a good job, and he's such a pro. And again, you have to like. I want to go back to like what I said about Ariana Grande on a slightly different level, but also to like Rob has grown up in a family that's always been in showbiz. They've always been
Yeah.
performers. You take the TV stuff away from it and they still, that's their business. Like,
Yeah.
their crocodile farm is like, it's all about like Australia Zoo is all about putting on shows for people. He was
Yes.
doing that since he was a little kid. And then he obviously, his sister Bindi, she had a massive career in the US.
Yep.
She was also on Dancing with the Stars, and like, it's kind of like that's their family business. It would be like saying if your family owned a bakery and you didn't understand the fundamentals about baking or bread, then that would be kind of weird. And
Yeah.
I think you just need to take bakery out and just put showbiz in for the
Totally.
Irwin family. And it's the same thing. It's what they do. It just happens to be on camera in front of millions of people.
Yeah.
In my eyes, I think he is like really crafting himself, and he's earning his place. Like he knows that there's a lot of hard work ahead of him. And he's also very good at honoring those people that have come before him. I think he always makes a point in like making sure that he acknowledges Dr. Chris Brown. He acknowledges Sam Pang. Like he acknowledges his dad. He acknowledges the people that have paved the way for him to be in this opportunity. And I think that I don't think he will ever lose that being humble about where he comes from and his roots, even though he comes from a showbiz family. And he's I guess he's just always destined to be in that industry. But in real life, he's just the nicest guy. I saw him off the clock, as we say, and he just is like so super friendly to everyone. He gives everyone a massive hug, and he just is like, because the thing is that these people in the Australian television industry, either he has grown up with them, or they knew his dad, or they knew his sister, they knew his mum. It's like going to your dad's work and not knowing his co-workers. It's
Yeah.
the same kind of thing for Rob. Like he's just seeing people that he's grown up with that have known him since he was a little tacker.
Yeah.
So I actually have a lot of praise for him, and I think that he's actually great at what he does. And I also like I was in a seminar the other day, and I just think that like as Aussies, we don't congratulate each other enough. We don't pat each other on the back. And so I am also actively trying to do that for other people in my industry. It's very easy sometimes to get sucked into that idea of being jealous of people who have other
Yes.
opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I would love to be hosting the Logies and on Dancing with the Stars, but you got to give people credit where
Yeah.
credit is due. And I think
Yeah.
that as Aussies, we need to fight against this. We've got a bad reputation for this tall poppy syndrome, and we
Yeah.
need to start fighting against it. And we need to start uplifting other people and congratulating them when they are working hard.
Yes. Well, Jazz, I can say you are absolutely walking the walk because that is exactly what you were doing for me and for everyone else in that media room. You could have been a total bitch and sat in the corner. You had so much work to do. You were editing on the go. You were preparing as
I
you were going.
was.
I had the luxury of having Heidi Anderson with me, who could take care of so much of my
Yeah.
content stuff. I didn't have to stress too much. And you had all the time in the world for me, and I'm sure for everybody else in the room. And, you know, you are absolutely doing your bit to change that perception of, you know, people in the industry and that cutthroat kind of, you know, vibe that we know is there. You're exemplifying exactly what you're talking about. So you and Rob have that in common for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. I just think in that instance, like, you know, a hustler sees a hustler. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew you guys were working just as hard as what I was, and there's there's just you just have to give help when you can. And, you know, there's nothing that doesn't cost you anything to give people like a little bit of a hand here and there. Like, why not just do it? Because the person that you're helping can only benefit from you helping them out. And you don't want to see people struggling. I certainly don't want to. I didn't want to see anyone having a tough time on the day. And like you say, it was such a good group of people that you just felt the absolute need to take care of each other and to make sure that everyone was having a good experience and was walking away feeling good about that day.
Yeah, well, you did that in spades, my friend. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
You're
Anytime.
incredible. So okay, we're coming to a close here. Sorry, everyone, to flag that we're going to wrap up in a minute, just in case there's any comments. But
guys, we're out of time.
Guys,
is what
we're
she's
out of
saying.
time. Yeah. So, but before we do run out of time, what have you got coming up? Where can people find you? How can they support your work? Hit us with all of that.
So I have my podcast called Justin Hill Plus One, and the idea of that is that it is me and a plus one, and that plus one is the star that I have in my studio. It is you that is listening. It is the people around the world that watch the videos, and so you can listen to that on all podcast platforms. I've got some great guests coming up. I won't tell you who they are because like some of them are under NDA, and I hate saying that, but like,
I love that.
You know, there's. Yeah, I know. And that's the funny thing is we're always like working in advance with our podcast, as you know. So like we've got a stack of those coming up. One of the interviews that I did this morning was with Tina Arena, which was just like such a career highlight because I just love her and I think she's wonderful. So I've got a chat with her coming up. And you can follow me on social media at @just_hill. I'm always posting all of my interviews and those little snippets from the red carpets and like the chats that you generally don't see anywhere else. I like people to see the unpolished side of things. So give me a follow and check me out there.
Amazing. Make sure you are subscribed to his podcast, following on all the channels. And my friend, I can't thank you enough. This has been so much fun. You will have to come back and do this again because I feel like we could talk celebs and Bravo and Hayu for hours.
Forever and ever and ever. Excuse me.
You've been working that instrument very hard, my friend.
Oh my God. Can you tell that I've got everyone I spoke to from Hayu FanFest had a raspy voice over the weekend.
Totally.
But yes, I would love to come back and chat to you anytime. It's so nice to like meet a kindred spirit who just like loves the things that I love. And that was very evident as soon as I met you that we were going to get along like a house on fire.
Yes.
So yeah, anytime you want me, I'm more than happy to come back.
Famous last words. They are recorded for legal purposes. So you have to stick to that.
That's right. I know. It's a contract now. What have I got myself in for?
Contract. That's it. I'll see you this time next week. Yeah?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Thank you so much, my friend. Cannot wait to see all of your amazing things coming up. And I'm sure we will see more red carpets, more sneak peeks, more behind the scenes. And I will be tuning in to all of those NDA episodes.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Lots of love. Mwah.